Hello, good evening, everybody. No matter where you are watching us from around the world, welcome to the March 2022 online meeting of Sydney Skeptics in the Pub. My name is Richard Saunders from the Australian Skeptics and the Skeptic Zone podcast, celebrating 700 episodes next Saturday. It's an awful lot of episodes. And behind the scenes, as ever, peddling and working the wires is Lara Benham. Before we begin, I'd like to acknowledge and pay my respects to the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, the traditional custodians from the land we are broadcasting tonight. I'd like to pay my respects to their elders past, present, and emerging. Now, don't forget, you can subscribe to our magazine, The Skeptic, that fine magazine. Hello, Tim Mendham, the editor. And in fact, this has been going now for over 40 years. In fact, you can access most back issues of the magazine for free and peruse them to your heart's content. There's even a search at skeptics.com.au. And once you're there, please subscribe to the magazine and you can get this fine journal posted to you 4 times a year, as I do. Now, we're not sure when we'll be back in the real pub, having a real beer in the real pub. So please put Thursday, the 7th of April in your diary for the next Skeptics in the Pub online. Keep your eye on our meetup page for more announcements. That's meetup.com, and just search for Australian Skeptics or AUST Skeptics. If things go well, hopefully, maybe next month or May, we might even be back at the real pub here in Sydney. I hope so. If that's the case, we certainly look forward to that. But now let's turn our attention to tonight's talk. Saucy Science. Saucy Science. With Dr. Catherine King. All the bits that are not suitable for kids. So kids, you know, off you go. I'm past my bedtime too, but you know what? I'm interested to hear what Dr. Catherine has to say. Who is Dr. Catherine? Dr. Catherine is a science communicator with the Newcastle Museum and loves nothing more than performing science shows for kids. Hey, I'm with you there. That's what I love to do too. About farts, rockets, and slime. Oh, I can tell she's very popular. In her past lives, she was a geologist, high school teacher, wine educator, and even did a short-lived stint as the mascot for an equipment hire company. I'd like to hear about that. In her spare time, she runs ultra marathons, something I don't do. She even recently, maybe a year or two back, did an online video with our very own Maynard. You'll have a chance to ask questions of Dr. Catherine tonight via the Slido link that will appear in the Twitch chat if you type !Q, and I think there's probably somebody doing that right now to get that all happening. What we'll do after the talk, I'll peruse your questions and I'll put those to Dr. Catherine, and hopefully she can come up with a saucy answer. But for now, please join me in welcoming Dr. Catherine all the way from sunny Newcastle.
Thank you, Richard. What an honor it is to be speaking to the Skeptics tonight. That was a lovely introduction. May I just say first, though, that you have given me a Skeptics PhD. That is wonderful, and I'm going to hold on to that, but I'm not a doctor in the real world. I would like to pay my respects to the Awabakal people on whose country I am speaking to you tonight, and to their elders past, present, and emerging. So as Richard said, my name is Catherine, and I work in audience engagement at Newcastle Museum in New South Wales, which means I put on events and science shows, mostly for children, but also for adults. I'm a scientist, a geologist and geophysicist originally from Sydney University, and I've worked in a silver lead zinc mine in Queensland and a gold mine in Victoria. After a while of working with rocks, I went back to university to become a high school maths and science teacher. And I did that for a while, where my speciality was putting interpretive dance in science lessons before landing this fabulous job with the museum. This job involves things like making slime, pouring liquid nitrogen on things just to see what will happen, dissecting cow eyeballs, shooting marshmallows out of a vacuum cleaner at small children, launching bike pump rockets, talking about the science of poo and farts and that sort of thing. That's actually the most popular show that I have, is the one about digestion and poo and farts. During school term time, I take my shows to primary schools. So if there are any primary teachers out there in the Hunter, Port Stephens, Newcastle or Central Coast areas, then drop me an email afterwards and I can tell you all about the shows I offer that are linked to the curriculum. Now, Newcastle Museum used to be a small regional museum, but we're getting bigger now. We are run by Newcastle City Council, and we have a focus not only on local history, but also science, and we take some large touring exhibitions as well. We currently have animatronic dinosaurs, which are always a winner with the kids. But as you skeptics will know, for a good decade now, we've known that dinosaurs, many of them, have feathers, and our ones are a little scientifically inaccurate, which annoys the scientist in me. They should have feathers. Anyway, some kids know about that. We have a hands-on science play area and a large light and sound theatre show about steel making in Newcastle, because the steel and the coal, that's our history up here in Newcastle. Okay, let's get on with talking about clitorises. Tonight's talk is definitely not one that I present to primary school kids. I've called this one Saucy Science for the Skeptics, and it is simply a ramble through some fascinating scientific topics for the over 18s, including sex and swearing, which I hope will give you a smile, perhaps improve your sporting performance, and make you thank your lucky stars you're not a hyena. We're going to start with clitorises. Now, if you were with me here in the room today, I would ask you to take a pen and paper and draw a clitoris. But I can't see you out there. So you're just going to have to think about how you would draw one. I would be very impressed with anyone who gets it right. And when I talk about this with people in the room, I tell you what, we do not get many people getting it right at all. I mean, everybody knows how to draw a penis and testicles, right? But the poor old clitoris could do with a bit more attention. Now, if you've brought a clitoris along with you tonight, please refrain from cheating by peeking, okay? All right, this is what your drawing should look like. Did you know it looked like that? Now, the clitoris that I want to talk about tonight is the hyena clitoris. Now, hyena society is matriarchal. It's run by the ladies. Males, you are subservient and you are scared of the ladies. Males do not hang around in the main pack. They skulk around on the outside. They are much too frightened to come close to the main pack. Even the lowest female hyena outranks any male. Bees, whales, lions, meerkats, they also have matriarchal societies. Now, you might know the largest type of hyena is the spotted hyena, and that's the one that's represented in popular culture, like the Lion King. They are very, very aggressive. Now, the more aggressive you are as a hyena, the more success you're going to have in winning food and mates. Hyenas have a bad reputation as scavengers who steal fresh kills from other animals like lions. But actually, that's not true. Lions are more likely to steal a hyena's kill than the other way around. Hyenas are the only animals with teeth that can crunch all the way through bone and digest it. So they can reduce a wildebeest right down to just a stain on the grass in an hour or two. Now, hyenas can take down a whole zebra or a wildebeest. They don't need to wait for a lion to do it for them. But the tastiest part, the part of the animal they go for first, that the top female gets, it's the testicles. So that you can always tell which is the top female. She has her choice of what she eats first, and it's always the testicles. Now, over many generations, aggression has become a really important trait for female spotted hyenas. The more aggressive you are, the better social standing you will attain. And that'll give you the best meat selection and any male that you want to mate with. So the top female hyenas, they have more pregnancies and more of her offspring are going to survive. Aggression is built into the babies in the womb through exposure to really high levels of male hormones like testosterone. Unfortunately, this flood of testosterone in the womb causes some serious side effects for baby girl hyenas. The vagina on the baby girl hyena will actually fuse shut, and the clitoris becomes massively enlarged, huge. It hangs down about to her knees, so very, very low, and it looks exactly like a penis. It can even get erections. When scientists first studied hyena groups, they thought that the hyenas were hanging around in packs of dominant males. But until they saw the males give birth and start suckling their young with milk. So then they thought hyenas must be hermaphrodites. But actually, it's just the ladies all along. Now, the hyena clitoris has become a multifunctional organ. It has a tiny hole, just like a penis, and the female hyena actually urinates through it, just like a penis. In hyena society, you greet each other by standing up and showing each other your penis, and females participate in this with their phallic clitoris. To have sex, they actually use the clitoris because the vagina is closed over. But this is very, very hard because her clitoris is the same shape as his penis. They both have an outie. So she has to retract her clitoris, like folding it up like a concertina, so that his penis can enter her. So this means there's no rape. Sex is always consensual. She has to fold it up to be able to be entered. Giving birth, on the other hand, is horrifying. She gives birth through the tiny hole in the clitoris. For human men, this would be like giving birth through your penis. The hyena's clitoris is ripped open. 10% of mothers die during childbirth, and 50% of the firstborn cubs die. Her clitoris will never recover from this. So second and third births are safer than the first birth. Right. Whew. If you've recovered from the pain of the thought of that, I'm going to give you a few more fascinating examples of the ladies in charge. Firstly, the beautiful green spoonworm, which lives on the sea floor in the Mediterranean. Females much larger than the males. So females are up to about 15 centimeters long and males only 1 or 2 millimeters. So male green spoonworms are actually just a testicle. That's basically the entire makeup of their body. To have sex, a female green spoonworm inhales the man. She sucks him into a special chamber in her reproductive tract, which is called the androecium, which translates as small man room. So if the gentleman in your life has maybe a man shed or a man cave, you can call it the androecium, the small man room. And there he stays for the rest of his life, trying to fertilize the eggs as they pass down her reproductive tubes. But she doesn't have just one in there. She can have up to 20 men inside there. And lastly, paper wasps. Now, paper wasps, they indulge in male stuffing. If a male is in the hive and being a nuisance to the females, maybe they're getting in the way of the chores or they're eating more than his share of the food, then the ladies bite him, kick him, and shove him headfirst into an empty cell in the nest. And the stuffer will actually keep biting the male's bottom and pushing him in to stop him coming out. By the time he manages to unstuff himself, the food has been shared out equally and all the chores done. All right, I need to balance the ledger. Men, it's your turn. Now, whether you are human or insect, your aim in life is to have your genes survive to the next generation. There are many ways of getting the upper hand in life. If you are a honeybee, you have one big chance. The queen honeybee will only have sex once in her life. She flies out of the hive on a mating flight, and up to 25,000 male honeybees will crowd around trying to be one of the lucky 20. So she's only going to have sex with about 20 males. I say only. She will never again have sex in her life. So she needs enough sperm to store inside her to last for every pregnancy that she has. So she just keeps it inside of her reproductive tract. And when it's time for her to get pregnant again, she just can access some of that sperm that she's already got. Now, the lucky male honeybees, they want to make sure it's their sperm that she uses. So they have a special adaptation. Their penises explode audibly. Scientists have measured that sound of their penis exploding, and it snaps off inside her after sex. And it blocks her reproductive tract and makes it harder for the next bee's sperm to get through the blockage, which is pretty clever. Well, male bees then went and evolved another trait to compete with each other: a penis with bristles. So the second male who is having sex with the queen is also cleaning her reproductive tract with his bristly brush penis to remove the previous bee's genitalia. Blocking up the female reproductive tract is called the chastity belt defense, and mice do that too. If you are a male rat or mouse, instead of leaving your penis behind in the female, and I'm glad they don't do that, you actually plug her up with a tough rubbery plug. And it's so tough that once it's formed, scientists studying this in the lab, trying to remove it to see what it's made of, have actually torn the mouse's womb. So it's really stuck in there. But again, males have evolved, again, amazing to get around this. They have developed a very flexible penis, like a bendy toilet plunger style penis that can either bend around or suction out the previous plug. If you are a praying mantis, you can ensure that no other male has a chance to mate with your partner by making sure sex lasts for the entire time she's in heat. 10 weeks. One act of sex lasts for 10 weeks. Now, some males like to entice the female and get them to come willingly to him by giving her gifts. The redback spider gives the greatest gift of all, himself. He willingly offers himself to the female to munch on during sex so that sex lasts for longer and he has a greater chance of impregnating her because he's only got that one chance. The red velvet mite will build a structure called a love garden. It's made of leaves and twigs, and it's stuck together with his own ejaculate. He deposits further blobs of ejaculate inside the love garden so that his lady love can sit on a little chair of ejaculate and impregnate herself. However, when he's out and about looking for a lady to lead to his love garden, if another male red velvet mite happens to find his love garden, he will immediately ejaculate all over it. And then the intended lady love that the first one is bringing back might impregnate herself with the wrong sperm. Now, remember, my day job is taking fun museum science shows to primary schools. So I'm certainly never talking about hyena clitorises or bee penises there. But there is another scientific topic I can never usually talk about, and that is swearing. Now, this next segment will be different whether you are someone who swears a lot yourself or whether you're someone who only saves swear words for special occasions, Lego stepping on in the night occasions. Swearing does have a biological purpose, and it's not just having a lazy vocabulary, as my mother would have said. Scientists used to think that pain was a physical phenomenon, and now we know it's almost exclusively psychological. Your experience of the same pain can vary enormously depending on hundreds of factors. One fascinating study looked at when male volunteers are given a stimulus, a painful stimulus, and they're asked to rate how painful that stimulus is. Most of them will say it hurts less if it's a woman collecting the data. You know, you're trying to impress. Your personality, your mood, your experience of previous pain all add together to determine how you experience pain. And in fact, swearing is something that can help you feel less pain. Scientists think that the reason a swear word is the first thing that pops out of our mouth when we accidentally kick a table leg with a sore toe or cut your finger with a chopping knife is because we have evolved that trait over time. Swearing raises your aggression levels, which in turn decrease your pain levels. Scientists have got volunteers to play aggressive video games like shoot-'em-ups and then tested their pain thresholds. The volunteers could tolerate more pain than those volunteers who had played a sedate golf video game. The more severe the swear word, the more it helps to decrease your pain. So bum will help a little bit, shit will help a little bit more, but fuck will really reduce your pain significantly. And this applies not just when you're reacting to pain, like stepping on Lego, but also if you're anticipating pain to come, like jumping in ice water, running a marathon, getting a tattoo. So if you're about to do something painful, try to raise your aggression levels by letting loose on the swearing, but maybe just to yourself. The effect will be much less if you're someone who uses swear words commonly. If you're someone who saves it only for special occasions, then you will get a much larger reduction in your pain. Now, the same psychologist who did that experiment, Richard Stevens, discovered 2 years ago that swearing can also make you stronger and perform better in athletic tests. So raising your aggression levels, whether through swearing or playing the violent video games, before a cycling sprint or a hand grip strength test will actually have you performing much better. Now, if you want to repeat that experiment yourself, maybe at your next house party, because who doesn't love to have a few drinks and validate famous scientific experiments with friends? Get a bowl of ice and see how long you can hold it in your hand or plunge your hand into iced water before the pain is too much. So the first time you do it, you can only say ordinary words like curtain or Newcastle Museum, or preferably don't say anything at all. Then once you've calmed down, you've had your dinner, and you go for the entertainment after dinner, try it again and really let rip on the swear words. And you'll find you can bear the pain a lot longer with swear words. But don't forget, if you're one of those people who swear often, you'll find that the difference in how long you can resist the pain is a lot less than those people who don't use swear words very often. Thank you so much for having me, Skeptics. Please come and visit Newcastle Museum one day. We're a free entry museum. If you know any teachers in the Hunter, the Central Coast, or the Port Stephens areas, then let them know that I can bring some fun science to their classroom. Not the clitorises, obviously. But yeah, lots of curriculum-linked science stuff for the kiddos. And sometimes we do have the more grown-up science events here at the museum. But I realise that you guys are mostly Sydney-based. I will now hand back over to Richard and see what kind of crazy questions you have for me.
Gosh, what a good presentation that was. Darn it, I loved hearing all that sort of stuff. Fascinating. Somebody says in the comments that you obviously have better house parties than they do.
I thought that sounded pretty nerdy.
I think that's pretty good. Let's start with that interesting aspect of psychology there, with the swearing. Now, personally, I guess I put myself in the category of somebody who swears freely in the right situation.
Mm-hmm.
And I certainly, well, because I guess I'm a bit of a public figure, I certainly curb it when I'm in public and public presentations. I just don't do it. But at home, when I'm playing games on the computer and I'm failing, or I just missed landing the aircraft or something, I swear a lot. I'm swearing at my frustration. Is that, do you think, tied into the same thing as swearing for pain, swearing in frustration?
Yes, definitely. So it's the shock value to you of saying the word. So even though you're able to control it in public, that would still count as someone who uses swear words frequently. So it's not as shocking for you. Yeah. You might have to upgrade the swear word just in your head to raise those aggression levels. But I actually do that in my ultramarathon running. So if there's a particularly big hill or a set of 1,000 stairs or something I have to run up, then I will, in my mind, raise my aggression levels in that way.
That's interesting. And as you were talking about this, and I was thinking about my frustration in just playing games or whatever the case may be, or yes, stubbing my toe. Oh my goodness me! It occurred to me that we've all seen plenty of top grade tennis players on the court, and almost every shot they're audibly not swearing, but there's this enormous release, this grunting sound that they normally. We're all familiar with that. Do you think that is tied in there somehow?
I would imagine that's probably a release of frustration. Yes, well, exactly with that, because they're not allowed to swear on court, are they?
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah, I would imagine that's exactly along the same lines. The other thing that tennis players do well, which is another psychological technique you can use if you're in a difficult situation, is they reward themselves. You know, the Leighton Hewitt and a lot of them go, yes. Again, when I'm running a particularly long race, if you smile and you tell yourself, you reward yourself for getting through a part of it, and you smile and you tell yourself it's fantastic, you can definitely fool your brain. Absolutely.
The skeptics know all about fooling the brain. We've got lots of questions coming in. That's really great to see. Somebody was just referring back to the early part of the talk about the very interesting ways that organisms reproduce, to be quite frank.
Absolutely.
And with the hyenas, the worms, and the paper wasp. Somebody says in the comments there, how does that make sense from an evolution point of view?
For the hyenas, oh my goodness, it is such a cost to them of having the clitoral birth just kills so many of them. And actually, it's an area of ongoing research as to why it would be so valuable for the hyenas to have the aggression at the cost of so many maternal and baby births. Yeah. I don't think scientists have nailed that one down yet. I researched that a couple of years ago, and just before coming tonight, I just looked up to see if there's anything latest on that, and because that is an enormous cost. Yes.
It is an enormous cost, but I guess at the end of the day, for that species in particular, it works. They're here.
It does.
They are
absolutely right. Yep.
As bad as it is, which goes back to remind us how messy and haphazard evolution can be sometimes, because all it has to do is work, and the processes can be painful, can be from our human point of view destructive or unnecessary, but from an evolutionary point of view, it works.
It does.
That's all it has to do.
That's right.
That's all it has to do. Okay, folks, let me have a look up here on the other screen. We've got some questions coming in. Somebody says, swearing when in pain, was there a measurable difference between people who exclaim ouch, for example? What would the reaction to pain differ? Oh, would the reaction to pain differ with culture?
Wow. I would imagine so. The study didn't touch on that, and it also didn't touch on the word ouch. So ouch is a low-level expression of frustration. But so the study looked at totally benign words and swear words. So ouch, I would say, would be somewhere in the middle. You probably wouldn't see the difference so much.
Yeah, I think that's that particular sound, the English sound, ouch. If I recall from my time in Germany, I think little kids would say owie or something like that. I might be wrong. It's been a long time, but I wonder what other cultures would say for our ouch.
Yes.
Good question. Who posed that? That's a very good question. Next question comes in. What's the most interesting sex-related fact do you have about humans in particular?
Humans. Oh, wow.
You must have so many, right?
Well, I find it fascinating that Brazil nuts are sexually transmittable. So if you're a female and you're allergic to Brazil nuts, you can get an allergic reaction from your partner's sperm if they've eaten Brazil nuts.
That boggles them. That's an interesting one. There you are. Who put that one up? I had no idea. That's a pretty interesting one. Do you think scientists knew much of this information earlier on, but didn't publish it due to pointless to politeness embarrassment?
I don't know. I think scientists, I wouldn't ascribe scientists as succumbing to embarrassment too much. I mean, we have to study all functions. It's just, you can do that objectively, surely.
Yeah.
We're scientists. But they certainly, the early scientists certainly did get it completely wrong on the hyenas. And I find it sociologically fascinating that they didn't think it was the ladies who were dominant. They went from, oh, it's the males, and then, oh, whoops, they're giving birth and suckling the young. Oh, they must be hermaphrodites. Like, wouldn't even context the idea of the ladies being in charge. But that was just a reflection on the scientific thoughts at the time. They couldn't even comprehend there could be, a matriarchal society.
Oh, interesting. What's another questions coming in? Everybody seems to be quite engrossed in swearing. They're all at home swearing at the screen right now. They swear when they listen to me on the TV. Or has there been any studies on swearing in your mind? What about people who can't speak?
So I don't know specifically about mute people, but the swearing works whether you're doing it in your mind or out loud. Yes.
That's interesting. And why do you think it is? And you can see this on YouTube. I do it, but I didn't realize how many other people do it. When you're driving in your car and someone does something wrong or silly or something, the swearing that comes out, and there's endless hours on YouTube of people swearing. I guess it comes back to the frustration, doesn't it?
Yes, and it can be quite cathartic to do that as long as the other person can't hear you or see you. Otherwise, you're in trouble. But yeah, it's quite cathartic to do that. We say the same things about our politicians to the television screen.
Well, it's quite all right because obviously everybody else except us obviously are bad drivers, so it works quite well.
Of course.
Okay. Oh, yes, so many questions coming in. Thanks, folks. I'm glad you're enjoying the talk tonight. How do hyena packs balance taking care of their young guns with that aggression?
Well, they let them duel it out. So the cubs who do survive, they turn on each other and they will kill many of the other cubs themselves, so that only the most aggressive survive. And one of the latest areas of research is that little female cubs are more likely to be killed by male cubs. And the flood of testosterone actually makes the female cubs sound and act in a much more male way at birth. And scientists think that is to hide the femininity from their male siblings so that they don't get killed. Yeah.
Fascinating. Again, gets back to the point that evolution doesn't have to be pretty from our point of view. It simply has to work.
That's right. And you get the most aggressive cub growing up. Yeah.
Well, that's fascinating. All right, then. I think on that aggressive note, with a bit of swearing in the background, we can wrap it up for this evening. What a fascinating night it's been, folks. Thank you for all your interesting questions. And I think you're a doctor. You should be a doctor.
I'll take it. That's wonderful.
Catherine King, all the way from sunny Newcastle. Thank you very much for a really entertaining night. And I hope, maybe later on this year or soon, when we're all back in the pub enjoying a nice pub dinner, some beers and bending spoons and having a great time, that you would be able to join us. We would certainly look forward to that. But for now, everybody out there, and they're showing their appreciation, lots of little love hearts and no swearing. But for this week, thank you everybody for joining us, and we hope to see you very soon. But for now, it's good night from Richard Saunders.